Hello, I'm Ginger.
I'm Dee.
And this is Chattin with CHAP. Welcome back, everybody.
We're back together.
Back. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas vacation.
Yeah.
Dee, so what are we talking about this week?
This week is academic skills for
Ooh.
senior high students.
Oh, yeah. So this is good. This is similar to life skills, but this is more like skills for studying, especially if you're going to college. It's good to master some of these skills. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because life skills are absolutely necessary to smooth adult functioning, to help that transition.
Mm-hmm.
But academic skills are necessary to smooth out that college transition.
Try to make it a little better.
Yes.
And less bumpy.
Yes.
Smooth as it can be.
Yeah.
So senior year is a bumpy time. Sometimes it's not, and it's great, and it's no problems, but often it's like, oh my goodness, there's a transition happening. It's a little bumpy. Yeah. So lots of preparations to the future happening.
Lots of questions being asked. Some might not have answers.
Maybe not. And mamas of seniors out there, do not panic. Do not be concerned. If your student does not have it all figured out and have all the answers, I mean, I know sometimes these questions weigh really heavy on what are you going to do with your future?
And people start asking them when they're about 14 or 15.
I know. What are you going to do? I don't know. And some kids know.
Yeah.
But some kids don't.
Right.
It's okay.
But if you don't, that's okay.
No.
Right. Don't feel like they need to go to college right away. There are some amazing gap year programs in our area. I can think of several, and I know of many around the country.
Yes. Yeah. There are so many out there now. Gap year programs are really turning out to be the thing. And some are like internship focused, some are missions, some is just like school, like a year of school, but in a gap year type of setting, and they're all over.
Yeah. And sometimes a year away is exactly what a child needs to bring some clarity to what they want to do in the future, or to make college decisions about going to college.
Yes. Or even just a year working. I mean, sometimes just working, you can think and ponder and consider what's going to be happening in the future and save up money. If you're going to be going to college, then you can save up money. So, with that in mind, we are going to have our third college and career day for homeschoolers at E-Town College on March 21st. And that is going to be open to, it's usually like freshmen through seniors that we're looking for. And there's a little career assessment thing. But more information is going to be coming out on that in the future. So just mark your calendars if you're interested in that, March 21st.
Yeah. It's a helpful event. So keep your eyes out for information. Good. Yeah. So academic skills. What types of skills come to mind, Ginger?
Okay, so we encountered some of this year, and it took me by surprise. Honestly, I was kind of surprised about this, but it was good that we were made aware so we could address it, and then we're prepared to address it with the younger kids. But so pretty much the main one we encountered this year was how to be prepared to take a closed book test. Now we did do closed book tests, like math tests, but not so many for with lots of vocabulary for history or whatever like that. So that was something that we were not, that we needed to work on this year.
Yeah, and I don't know how many of you test, but whether you test or not, colleges do.
They do.
So knowing how to prepare is going to be key for your student if they're headed in that direction. And there's different methods of preparing too.
Sure. So memorizing is absolutely necessary. So if you don't have your younger children memorizing now, you're going to want to consider holding some kind of memorization into your school day, your school year.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be facts. It could be scripture, it could be poems.
Or play lines.
That's
like if your kids are in plays, those are really good. So anything that gets the brain used to storing that data in there so they can recall it later, that's going to be important to do. Yeah.
And ways to learn and to memorize are varied also. There are a few are verbal repetition, like spelling out loud over and over, reading, or typed or written notes.
Or you can be quizzed by a parent or a classmate. That might help. And that's kind of like the verbal thing there too. You're just doing again and again. Vocabulary, a great way to do vocabulary. You have the words in a pile on different scraps of paper and all the definitions in a separate, and then it's kind of like a mix and match game. So that's really good for your kinesthetic person. But that helps you memorize and get all that in there.
And for us, I know we did I would create flashcards with either vocabulary or facts, or, whether it be math facts or facts in their history or their science. And, we just create, and then we would go over them verbally. So they would see them, they would read them, then I would quiz them verbally so that we could kind of try to bring in all different methods. And repetition was key.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. And writing always helped me. If I wrote something out, I was good.
Yeah.
So kind of depends.
Yeah. So to support test taking it's key that you take notes. And so note taking, yeah, that can be handwritten or typed, but students need to learn to take down the important points that a teacher or a professor shares.
Yeah.
And in homeschooling, especially if you don't take
a
classes,
or something else.
that's something that you might be lacking in your homeschool because you're not used to.
I mean, if you use like an online lecture thing or a DVD where you're listening to a lecture, then you would have the opportunity to sit with a notebook and take notes. I mean, at home that could be anywhere. But we actually have some of our teachers at co-op specifically teach the students how to take notes. So that's really, really good. Completing homework is going to help you with your tests. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I mean, I know some of my teachers growing up, the teachers at co-op, they just take their questions right off the homework. So if you are doing that, I know sometimes students feel like homework is busy work and it's annoying and why do I have to fill all this stuff out? But honestly, if you're doing your homework and you're reviewing it, then most likely you'll be prepared for whatever comes up on a test.
Another academic skill is to know how to learn. Yeah, the student, with mom's help maybe, needs to discover how best they learn new info. So when a topic is being learned, where do you go? How do you answer a question?
Yeah.
What is your learning style?
Yeah, we talked about
that. Yeah.
Goodness, might have been a year ago.
Yeah.
So I say don't use Wikipedia. My son disagrees. But so if you need to learn something new, how do you do it? How to, teach your student. How do you do it? If you need to learn something new, what do you do? So sometimes this is called research. I don't like research.
Research could be reading, listening, watching, talking. There's many ways to research to learn, so you have to figure out what works well for your student. Some students need to hear it, and some need to read it, and some, they need movement or whatever, but they need to figure that out so that they can retain the information.
So, and also know how and when to ask questions. So if you don't understand or your student doesn't understand something, ask. Chances are, if they're in a classroom setting, there's somebody else in that class that doesn't know what's going on either, and they need to have the question asked also. So encourage your student to have the question and ask it. Don't be afraid to approach a teacher or a professor, because if you have a good teacher or professor, they're going to be really excited that your student wants to know and wants to learn. That's what happened to me. I was a senior in high school, and I got a grade I didn't like on a paper, and I went to my English teacher, and I was like, what do I have to do to get this better grade? Because I don't even know what you want. And she loved me from that moment on. I don't even know if my writing got much better, but she just loved the fact that I came and wanted to do better. Yeah. So,
and problem solving, it's good too. So this is most often practiced with math through the dreaded word problems. But taking real life information, processing it to create a solution is valuable.
Yes, it is. And I tell you what, that is an attractive skill to employers. Employers love a person who's self-motivated and will work through problems on their own. So my husband, he tells me that every time. He doesn't even care if you have a degree. When he has to hire someone, he wants to see someone who is willing to dig in and figure it out. So along with all this problem solving goes logical processing. So there's so much bad logic out there. If you have the chance to take a logic class, do it, get rid of the circular reasoning. So learning to process information logically is important, especially with all of our media craziness today.
Yes,
There's
being able to think and
so
reason
much out there.
Thinking and reasoning is so important.
It really is, because along with your reasoning, you're going to need to have well-supported viewpoints and clear, concise explanations. Know what you know really well and be able to clearly explain it.
Yeah, because there's so much emotion-driven media out there, and there's very little reason or logic in all of it.
Yeah, really, totally. So if your student can stay calm, reason through the thoughts and ideas that are presented with logic and sound supporting information, they will be light years ahead of the people around them.
Yeah, and being able to share their viewpoints clearly so that others can understand is an excellent skill also.
Yes. So teach your kids that debate is good, okay? Debate is a good thing. So both sides of a debate, we can learn from each other on two sides of a debate if you stay calm and open to consider what the other person is saying.
Yeah, and students need to realize that others have differing viewpoints. Despite the differences in opinions, they can accept others. And that's a little tricky, especially when you've been home and your children spent a majority of their time here.
Yes.
And so it's your family and what you believe, and that's very important, but sometimes they don't realize there are differing opinions out there. And then when they go out into the workforce or go to college, they're bombarded with these different
ideas.
viewpoints and ideas, and they need to know how to process it. They need to know how to respond to it, but they also need to be loving.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean you need to agree with other people with different viewpoints. You can still hold your viewpoint.
Right.
That is very good, but it does mean that you don't need to hate others because you don't agree.
Right. Yeah. So these are all academic skills, and they involve processing and sharing information.
Yes. So we get a lot of information thrown at us, like constantly. But we probably don't take a lot of time to think it through. I mean, there's so much out there.
Yeah. Slowing down and thinking it or thinking things through. That's what's needed, not only for academics, but for spiritual growth.
So reflection is becoming a lost skill. I don't know. I mean, it's key to growth. If you're not reflecting over yourself and how you're doing and what you've been going through and stuff, you don't know where or what needs to grow. So I do think this is a skill that I need to better develop. I'm working on it myself.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think about that?
No, totally agreed. I mean, we're in this age of information and constant connection to the world and social media, and everything's instant
everything.
and but we're not stopping and taking the time to process all of that. And so, it's definitely a lost art.
Yeah,
and we need to be careful that we ourselves are doing that, and that we're teaching our children
to
how
do it.
important
So,
it is.
Reflecting is good. So help your student prepare. Make them aware of these skills, and then help them to assess where they're at, where each of them, or with all those different topics.
Yeah. And you can choose to develop them or not, but at least your student will be aware of what they need to think about going into their senior year and beyond.
So there's a good chance that in this discussion we missed some academic skill that you're like, well, I have my students do this. So there's so much to consider and all that. So if you have one that you have your children do or learn, share them with us. We want to know if there's something that we missed.
Yeah, share with us. We want to hear from you. We want to know that what we're presenting to you is relevant and helpful, but we also would love for you to share with us so that we can all, come along and encourage one another. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, so if there's any topics or anything, again, for this year coming up here in 2020, any topics that you want to know about, let us know. We will gladly research and provide a Chattin with CHAP on your topic of choice.
That's right. We will.
So,
well, it's been good to be back.
It is good to be back. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yep. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
This has been Chattin with CHAP.
Bye.